Right.
There you go. There you go. So now, yeah.
All right. Okay. Brilliant. Cheers, man. Okay, guys. Just a little technical hitch there. I was chatting away, thinking I was fantastic, and we weren't live. Well, we were live on one program and not the other. So apologies for that. Okay. Yeah. Welcome to another session on Crafty Illustrations. This is our 5th session of our Crafty Illustration series that we've devised here at Media Savvy to try and look at how we can incorporate our interests and our hobbies, handcrafted hobbies, and how we can engage engage and develop our digital skills. So, for example, in Crafty Illustrations, we've looked at taking our hand-drawn sketches and taking those hand-drawn sketches, taking photocopies, scanning them in, and creating digital artwork from that. And in our Crafty Illustrations sessions over the last 5 weeks, we've looked at specifically looked at creating vector-based artwork. And for those of you who don't know for those of you who don't know what vector-based artwork is, it's a method of creating artwork where it can be scaled up pretty much infinitely without losing any quality. So it's a really good way of digitizing your hand-drawn sketches or illustrations or anything like that. Okay. So we're on our last session today for Crafty Illustrations. Got quite a lot of things to cram in. So really excited to kind of wrap up this course and create finalize our artwork and put our artwork out there on into the different formats that we've talked about throughout the last few weeks. So we've created artwork for a birthday party, and throughout the course of the 5 weeks, we've explored different tools within Adobe Illustrator and which is a vector-based program, and Inkscape, which again is another vector-based program. And we've created artwork using various tools within both programs to generate similar artwork. So those of you who don't have access to Adobe Illustrator, you could download Inkscape for free and achieve this, the very similar effect in that program as well. And that's why we've tried to compare both programs. Okay, it's not to compare one over the other in terms of what's better and what's worse. It's basically just to show you the comparable tools that are available, tools and techniques that are available to create your artwork in those programs. Okay, so this is the last course. This is the last session of the course, Crafty Illustrations. And then we're going to have a little break. We're going to have a week's break, and then we're going to come back on the 26th of August, and we're going to start our new series called Crafty Type. And we're going to have a taster session on that, and then we're going to have 5 weeks after the taster session, and that's going to be exploring typography and what is typography, and hopefully we're going to try and create our own typography as well, possibly digitize it. Now I'm really excited about this course, guys, because Crafty Type is exploring typography, and I haven't really had a chance to look at typography apart from downloading some really cool fonts off the internet and utilizing those within my artwork and graphics that I create. But I'm really interested to explore typography so we can really get down to the nitty gritty of what it is and what we need to consider when it comes to exploring it, and what are the main attributes to typography and the different styles that are available and how we can create it ourselves. I don't know anything about it, so I'm really looking forward to learning with you guys, finding out what resources are available, and getting that across to you so we can explore that together. So that's Crafty Type, which is going to start on the 26th of August. Okay, so like I say, we're going to have a week break. As always, guys, we've got our enrollments, so please fill those in. They're really important for us to have a record of our learners that we're engaging with on our course. As mentioned before, we're going through the process of making this a little bit more streamlined, our enrollment forms. But at the minute, we've got a pretty easy form, and if you just click on the link like I've just done there, it'll open up our enrollment form, which you'll see in a minute. And all we need, guys, is sections B and section C filling in. So there's sections B there, which is just your basic information. Section C, just how you learn, how you prefer to learn, and what your intended destination is after this course, whether it's more learning or voluntary work or whatever, and your subject knowledge, so we can kind of monitor your progression along the course. Okay. Now, those of you who haven't been a part of our 5-week course, that's not to worry. We do have these courses available, these sessions available on YouTube. So please fill in our enrollment forms anyway, and just at your own leisure, go through the course if that's what you wish to do. Okay, so that's our enrollment form. My email address is there. It literally takes 5 minutes to fill in that form. So just fill in download the form, fill in the details, and email it to me. Alternatively, just drop me an email with those details, and I'll fill in the form for you. Okay. And then at the end of the session, we've got a feedback form, which would really appreciate your feedback on today's session. Okay. Again, basic information, how you found the session, blah blah blah. Okay, so just fill that in at the end, and we would much appreciate that, so we can take on board your feedback. Okay, so that's the boring stuff out of the way. This is where we are in the course. We've had our taster, we've had our 4 sessions, and this is last session today. As mentioned before, we're going to be assembling the artwork that we've been creating over the last 4 sessions, and then we're going to look at incorporating and a pattern, and how to create patterns within the 2 programs that we've been playing around with over the course of 5 weeks. That's Illustrator and Inkscape. Now, last week, just as a quick recap, we spent a lot of time in Inkscape last week, because I was very conscious of the fact that I spent quite a lot of time the previous week in Illustrator. Now, the tools are very similar, albeit they might look slightly different, or they might be positioned in different locations in comparison to each other. But we explored we refreshed our knowledge on using the Bezier curve tool, and that tool is, I'll quickly show you, is this one here. This is the Bezier curve tool, and this is Inkscape. Okay, this program here is Inkscape, and that's the Bezier tool, and we looked at how to create curves and how to manipulate the lines and paths to kind of get a shape that we wanted, and we used this Pear as our kind of our reference image to create some to trace around. Okay, so that's what we did with that Bezier curve. Now, in Illustrator, the comparable tool is called the graphic pen tool, or the pen tool as it's known now, and that looks a bit like this, and it works in pretty much the same way. Okay, so if you can use one, it'll be very easy to learn and use the other one. Okay, so we looked at using that tool, and then we looked at the gradient mesh tool, or the mesh tool as what it's called in Inkscape. And the great thing about the mesh tool, as you can see from this screenshot I have here, I'll take you into Inkscape just to show you. The mesh tool allows you to add really complicated kind of shading to a flat image. So we created this image, which is in blue first of all, and then we applied some contours, if you like, as you can see here, and we manipulated those contours so it kind of formed the rough shape of this pear, and then we assigned colors to different areas of this pear, and basically the mesh tool kind of worked out the rest and give us this kind of cool 3D effect with the similar tonal qualities as this pear on the left hand side. So that's what we've done last week. And we spent quite a lot of time on that, just tweaking it, just trying to get it to look right. And as you can see, what we did was we made multiple copies. Once we were happy, we would make another duplicate and keep on messing about with our image and our object, so we had backups. Okay, and that's something that I always do when I'm working on artwork. Okay, in Illustrator, this is what we did in Illustrator. We used the mesh gradient mesh tool to create the same effect, and we looked at the live trace facility within Illustrator and the live paint, where it allowed us to. We brought in an image of a line drawing of a cake, which is going to feature on our artwork. We brought that in, and then we used a live trace to turn that into a vector image, and then we used the live paint to quickly add some color to it. Okay. So today's session, we're going to be coloring. We're going to be doing this, what we did in Illustrator, coloring in this cake. We're going to be doing that in Inkscape, and then we're going to assemble our artwork to create our banner, our card, and our invite. Okay, and we're going to do that in both programs. And then at the end of the session, we're going to round up, and I'm going to give you 5 need to know tools in both Inkscape and Illustrator. And if I've got a bit of time, I'll quickly go through the very basics of those tools. But I'm going to give you a list of 5, what I think are 5 kind of need to knows for each program, the tools, and 5 tips. Okay. So this is how to speed things up. What I have done in Inkscape is I've created these balloons here, and what I've got in our presentation here is a little description on how to create these balloons. I'm not going to go over this in this session, because basically all I did was create a shape, and then I applied the gradient mesh tool onto that shape to give this 3D kind of like balloon effect. Okay, so we're going to use these balloons in our artwork this week, but I'm not going to go into how I've done it, because we've already talked about that. Okay, there's only one thing I want to show you quickly in Inkscape on how to manipulate basic shapes, because I think that's really important. So we're going to go into Inkscape now. Going to click on our Inkscape little icon at the bottom of your screen, and there's the balloons there, right? And I'm going to quickly, I'm not going to mess about with the gradient mesh tool, because we've already looked at that, like I mentioned, but I'm going to show you how to manipulate this and how to create this shape. Now, I thought it was going to be very easy to create that shape in Inkscape, and it is, but it's not as straightforward as you might think. That's why I'm going over it quickly now. So as you can see from the presentation, which I'm going to flick back to, I started off with a shape which was an oval. Okay, and then what I wanted to do was I wanted to stretch the bottom out so it looked like a balloon. Now in Illustrator, I'm going to do that in Illustrator now, just to show you. Okay, so now we're in Illustrator, and I'm going to show you how easy, or how I would go about doing that in Illustrator. So you're going to forget about these images on the left. I'm just going to zoom into here. I'm going to draw my choose my ellipse tool, and if you hold down on your shapes here, you might have a rectangle tool, but if you hold down on the button, it will come up with some other shapes, and there's your ellipse tool there, and you click and drag and draw your shape. Okay, now if any of you have seen a balloon or messed about with balloons, or blew up a balloon for birthday parties and things like that, the shape doesn't look exactly like that. It kind of goes down a little bit to the bottom like that. Okay, and that's how easy it is to do it in Illustrator. You draw your shape, which I've done. You click on your white direct selection tool, click on your shape, and as you can see around your shape you have 1, 2, 3, 4 points. We're going to select the bottom point, and then all we're going to do is click on it, hold down and drag to pull that down. So all we're doing is pulling that point down, and then the curve is getting stretched a little bit further. Okay, now if I created that that curve here and used a black selection tool, all I would do was stretch the entire thing. Can you see how the shapes are different? So that's how easy it is to do in Illustrator. And I was just playing around with this before the session, just to see how I could move our artwork on a little bit quicker, and how I could create this balloon. And I've done exactly the same thing, thinking, right, okay, click on my ellipse tool, which is the one I've just clicked on there, hold down, drag my shape, yeah, perfect. And then all I want to do is I'm going to click on this button, which is the equivalent of the direct selection tool, but then it doesn't allow me the option to select any of those nodes that form that shape. So what you need to do is you need to click on, I believe it's this button here, convert selected objects stroke to paths. You need to click on that button, and that allows you, that then exposes these points. Then you can click on that point that you want to move, then you can drag it. Okay, so that's very, very easy to do, but not as obvious. Okay, so it took me a few minutes to figure that out, so I just wanted to clear that up. I'm not going to go in, like I say, I'm not going to go into the gradient mesh here because we've already covered that last week. So that's just a quick one, just to iron out the difference between Illustrator and Inkscape. Okay, just one quick just quickly again, basically you draw your shape, you click your edit paths by nodes button here, the second one down, and then you click this one here. That converts to shape, and then you can click on the shape, the area of the shape, or the node on that shape, and you can manipulate the shape there. Okay, right, brilliant. So what we're going to do now, so basically these notes are just a little explanation on that, and how I created the different balloons, and basically they're just duplicates, and then I've just changed the color. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to repeat what we did in Illustrator in Inkscape, so you can see how we achieve this this cake, how we color in this cake. So now we're in Illustrator, and that's the cake that we brought in last week, and then we colored it in, and we're going to do exactly the same in Inkscape, so you have the same kind of knowledge in this program as well. So this is a cake that I'd done earlier, just to experiment, just to make sure I'm going to be showing you the right thing. That's what it was from, and I'm going to do the whole thing from scratch now. Okay, we've got quite a lot to cover, so you'll have to bear with me, guys. And obviously this is all recorded, so if there's anything that you're not quite following, hit us up in our live chat, and I'll try and address that. Otherwise, the great thing about recording this is that you can go back later and follow that up, and pause the video, and check it out at your own pace. So what we need to do is we need to bring in this image, and this is the image that's available. We've got a link for all our session files in the presentation, which I'll make available after the session, and there is that's what we're going to bring in. So to bring that drawing in is the same process as you bring in any drawing or any photograph or any file that is compatible with Inkscape. You just click on File, Import, and that will be the same. That is generally the same process for a lot of our graphical programs nowadays. File and import, you bring in something in. There's a file that I want to bring in. I'm going to click on that. You might need to navigate around your computer to find the folder that file is in, but I already know where mine is. Mine's there in that session 4 folder. There's a cake. I'm going to open that up. It's going to give me a load of options. I'm quite lazy, so I just click OK, and hopefully it works, and it has. If it doesn't, then I'll go back and address it. And there's the cake picture there. Okay, so what we're going to do at the minute, this is just the drawing at the minute. We can't color that in or anything. It's just this image might as well be a grey box, okay? It doesn't have the editable function to manipulate the shapes of the icing on the cake or anything. All it is a line flat drawing, okay? So what we need to do is we need to convert that to a vector. So what we need to do there is we need to click on the image, making sure we've got our black selection tool selected. Click on it, go to object, go to path and click trace bitmap. This is what it is. This image that we brought in is actually a bitmap image. It's the opposite of a vector-based image, okay? So we want to convert that bitmap image, which is, if I zoom right in, you can see it's made up of loads and loads and loads of squares, basically. You can see it's not very sharp as you zoom right in comparison to this cake, which is very sharp all the way in. That's the difference. We are going to convert this image to a really sharp image, and which allows us to color it in. We're going to use this tool here, which is fill bounded areas, okay, once we've converted it to a vector. So we go to path, click on our image, go to path, click trace bitmap, and then these options come up here, okay. Now I've experimented with this, and the options that are in the default settings here seem fine, so I just click apply. And there you can see that image is changed straight away. And basically what it's done, it's traced that image to a vector image. And as you can see now, that is the traced vector image. And if I click on this button here and edit paths, as you can see all the paths that make up that shape, okay, which will allow us then to color it in. Whereas this image doesn't have the paths because it's just a flat image, okay. So I'm going to get rid of this now because we don't need it. We've converted it to a vector, which now means we can use this paint bucket tool and start coloring it in. So you click the paint bucket tool, and at the bottom of your Inkscape window here, you've got loads and loads of different colors. So I'm just going to go and quickly color this cake in, okay. So I'm going to choose a brown. I'm going to start maybe a bit more of a brown here, start coloring it in, okay. And I'm going to color the inside a little bit darker maybe. As you can see, the last thing I colored there, once I changed the color, it changed the color of that, okay. So you've got to be careful with the colors that you're choosing. So there's the main bit of the cake colored in. All I'm doing, guys, is selecting the color that I want. As you can see, once I've clicked to change the color, that color there, the last bit I've selected has changed color, okay. So what I'm going to do is press edit undo because I don't want that color to change. Yeah, click edit undo, and then it'll allow you to apply that color on a different shape, a different shape or path, okay. So if we zoom in now quickly, you can see that it doesn't quite go to the edges, and that's, I'm not going to mess about with this image too much today because we don't have that much time, but you can mess about with the how much that fills in by playing around with this number here, okay. And the higher the number, the more of that space it will fill in. So I'll just quickly do it. It's probably not going to be perfect, but as you can see, it's filled in more of that shape than it has in comparison to that one, okay. And just play around with it, guys. Don't be too precious over your image. Remember last time where my bit of advice was to just make some copies and duplicates, and then you won't be too disappointed if you make any mistakes. but we're just experimenting, so it doesn't really see. I've clicked the blue again, and I didn't want that to change blue, so I'm going to press Control and Z. I've still got my blue selected. I'm pressing down Control and rolling in with my mouse and color. I'm going to color some of these little smarty looking shapes here. Quickly do some other colors. Let's find a nice green. Again, it's colored that one, so I'll press undo. Do this quickly. Zoom in. Do one of these. And maybe do a couple of these candles as well while I'm on. Okay, let's get some other colors in there quickly. Just had a little glitch there, guys. OBS lost its connection, but we're back on again. Okay, so this is very similar to the live paint color here. Now be careful what you're doing with this paint bucket, because if you don't zoom in, and you might end up clicking on the black line, then you're going to change a lot of the outline. Okay, so I'm just going to undo that. So just be careful. Remember, you're one of your best friends in digital imaging and using a computer, in my opinion anyway, is Control Z. That's just a shortcut for undo. Okay, so that's really your best friend when it comes to using a computer, because you can always go back. And I've found when I work practically in my workshop, sometimes I'm really compelled to press Control and Z when I've made a mistake, but unfortunately, real life we can't use Control and Z. That would be quite nice, wouldn't it? So I'm going to finish by putting a few more bits of colour in here. And these candles, colour those in. And then I think we're pretty much done, aren't we? Put a few more in there. Yeah, let's use some yellow. I haven't got yellow in here yet. And then I'll use right, I'll show you this one. I think we covered this too last week, but this I'll show you again because I want to use it now. This is called the color picker tool. It's called, but the funny thing is with Inkscape, it doesn't give you the tool name, it just gives you the description. So I call it the color picker tool, but it says pick colors from image, which is great. It tells you exactly what it is. But this is a color picker tool or eyedropper tool in Photoshop or Illustrator. And what this allows you to do is basically pick the color, choose a color or sample color, and apply it to different things. Okay, so as you can see there, I've clicked that there, and I might want to change that color to a blue. You can see it's give it the last selection. The last thing I've colored in is that object there. Click on the blue color within the object, and there you go. Okay, it's recolored it. Okay, so that's that, and I think that we're pretty much there. That looks pretty good. We'll get rid of Matthew's logo there. This is a person who created this bit of artwork. So there's his attribute. Yeah, that's a word. Can't speak today. We're going to try and get rid of that because we don't really need that one in there. And maybe we need to ungroup it. I'm not too sure how we do that actually, but we'll figure that out in a minute. So there's a cake that we're going to put in. We've got the balloons there. I'm just going to open up the other the bit of artwork that we did in the last session. That's a patterns artwork. It's a pair drawing. Session 1, images, artwork from Inkscape. Let's give that one a whirl. And there we are. There's a bit of artwork that we created in the first session. So remember, we created these flowers and we created this car. Okay, so I'm going to take these flowers, I'm going to group them. So I've selected the entire thing. I'm going to right click on it and group it. There's group there. I'm going to right click on that again and copy it. And then I'm going to click on my Inkscape button. I'll hover over it and then I'm going to go to the next window along, the one that I've been working on. And I'm going to press Control and V or edit and paste. And that'll bring in the flower. And there's that flower there. Okay. So remember, we're starting now to assemble our artwork for this birthday. Okay, so there's the and this is a really good example, guys. I was trying to use this tool to select the entire thing and move it, but you can't move this tool here. This is the edit paths by nodes. This tool here allows you to edit the individual elements to that shape. Okay, allows you to change and move the points to that shape. This tool here, the selection tool, which we have in Illustrator, allows you to select the entire thing and move it and manipulate it that way, so that the object in its entirety. Okay, we're going to go back to Inkscape and we're going to look at, we're going to look at bringing over this bit of artwork, which we had, because it was a 70th birthday that we were creating the artwork for. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to bring that into Inkscape, into our final bit of artwork. Paste that in. Okay. And I'm going to zoom in a bit, and this is grouped. So I'm going to right click on that. I'm going to ungroup that. Sorry, ungroup. Right click, ungroup. And I'm going to get ungroup. There we go. Get rid of that because I don't need it. Press delete. Ungroup. Delete. For some reason, I think we had duplicates there. But that's not to worry. And there's our 70th. So we're going to try and bring this 70th shape into the cake there. And what we probably don't need anymore is this green bit. So I'll move that out of the way. See, we definitely have a duplicate there. So I'll move that out of the way. And there's a duplicate there, and there's a duplicate there. So I'll get rid of these, don't need those. Right click on this to group that. And then we've got the big okay. I've got a fly in here that's annoying me. Let's change the color so it matches our cake. There we go. And I'm going to try and resize this a little bit. Now what we've got going on here, guys, is what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this this text again because it's annoying me, and I'll explain what's happened here. we've got this artwork was brought in from Illustrator. The 70th, the 70 bit of artwork. Can you see that? And it's what it's done is it's broke it down into different shapes, individual shapes. So let's try that. Let's try that again. We'll ungroup that. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to group these. I'm going to group that, and we're going to copy it and bring it in again. There we go. Happy days. We're going to zoom into that. When I say zoom in, we're not zooming in. We're double clicking into that group, and we're going to select the color. Click our color picker, and we're going to click on the pink. I'm going to do the same with this one here. Selection tool. Click on that color there. Double click on it until the fill has the same color as that shape there. Click on that. Select that. Get rid of that. I'll probably get rid of these now. And that's not my pure taste of music, or my taste of music, guys. It's somebody having a rave outside. So apologies for that. Just resizing these flowers by duplicating them and resizing them. So all we're doing is click on the shape, click on the arrows to resize and stretch, clicking in the middle of the shape so it allows you to rotate the flower. And what you can do as well is double click on it again, and if you move it that way you can get them to flow in different directions. Okay, and I'm just doing a few here. Duplicate it again, flip that over again, and this is really the beauty of using a computer here. It's you could put all your hard work into doing something once, and then you can duplicate and change the colors, things and sizes and that, and it really does speed up your workflow as opposed to working by hand. If you spent 2 hours drawing something and you wanted to do it again by hand, it would probably take you around about 2 hours again to do the same thing. Okay, so we've got our flowers in. Let's get those balloons in. Now I'm going to show you another tool with this balloon. I'm going to just drag those balloons into position. Like that. Zoom in a bit. Enlarge these balloons a bit. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this tool here. This is a freehand drawing tool. So as we looked at our Bezier tool last time, where we clicked, I'll just show you. You click, move your point, click, hold down, move your point. You can create your curves. That's your Bezier. You've got a freehand version of that, where you can just literally draw your curve, draw freehand. Okay, and this smoothing option is really good. So at 1, for example, it creates a really kind of sharp, really kind of squiggly scrolly kind of shape. But if you change that to about 20, and I experimented with this earlier on, if you turn your smoothing up to about 20 and just do the same rough shape, it smooths that line out for you. Okay. Again, it's a path, as you can see. It's the red thing is a path here, and there's the nodes. You can manipulate those nodes to create your curve there. And this is just a string for the balloon. Okay. Probably overdone it a little bit there, so I'm just going to move that down, move that down, move that down, and that'll do. And I'm going to group that with that. No, I'm not. I've already got my balloons in place, so I'll move that line there. Actually, I'll quickly get rid of that line. I'll group it. I'm going to quickly show you how I change the color of that balloon, because that's quite useful as well. So I'm going to group this so it's got the string attached to the balloon, and if you wanted to spend a bit more time putting a knot on there, you could. So what I did was I didn't duplicate, and I'll show you in a minute why. What I did, I right clicked on the shape, clicked copy, right click, create, I clicked paste, click into the shape, then I clicked filters, color shift, and if you click live paint or live preview, sorry, you can shift the color here to change the color, and that's all I did. Okay, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep that because I quite like that color. Click apply, and that's done. Oh, what have I done now? Yeah. So the reason why I didn't press duplicate, and I'm going to do that just to quickly show you, duplicate that, so I've got two, double click on that, change the color of that, it's filters, color, and color shift, click on live preview, and it changes the original as well, and I didn't want the original changing. Okay, so that's why you click control and copy instead of control and instead of duplicate, sorry. Okay, so all I'm doing now is duplicating those balloons. I'm just going to do a couple here because we don't have all day, and I'll create another little squiggle here for this balloon, group it with that. I'm not going to do it for the rest, but what I will do is I'm going to just rotate them just so it's got a bit of, it just looks a little bit different. It doesn't look as though they've all been duplicated. So, and give it a bit of movement in the image as well. So scale the image, undo that, rotate, scale the image down or up, maybe up a bit, double click or click on it again and just rotate it. I'm going to undo that because that looks a bit too big. Got a fly in here that's absolutely annoying the life out of me. There we go. So it just adds a bit of kind of float to the image. It looks as though the balloons are flying, I guess. Yeah, and I'll make that a little bit smaller. There we go. Alright, so there's our image. We'll just get the car in there now. We need another element up here really, so maybe put a flower up there. Duplicate that because we're not bothered about changing the colour there. Rotate that around. There we go. And then we're going to look at trying to get rid of this because we don't need that there. So I'll right click. If I select just that, That's right. So that's what I need to do, guys. So you select the image. I'm going to click on the edit paths, and what we're going to do is just select the bits that we want to get rid of. So I'm clicking and dragging and making a rectangle, right, letting go, and hopefully if I press delete, it's removed those images, remove that bit of the image that we don't want. There's a few nodes left over, so we'll do exactly the same thing again. Get rid of those nodes, and I think there's one more node down here which we'll get rid of. Done. So that image is building up quite nicely now. This is going to be the final artwork. So let's go back to Illustrator. Now the car in Inkscape which we made, sorry, let's go back to Inkscape for a minute. That was the car that we drew in Inkscape, okay? But we've done a little bit of a better job of it in Illustrator. So what I'm going to try and do to save time is I'm going to open the Illustrator version up. Artwork from Illustrator. Hopefully that's got the car in. There's the car there. If I zoom in, you'll see. And we added the gradient mesh tool to that. Okay. So I'm going to click on that, click on the wheels. That's the car there. Okay. I'm going to take this across. So I'm going to hopefully copy it and hopefully paste it into Inkscape. I'm not sure whether that's worked or not. It's brought the wheels through but not the gradient mesh. Okay. So what we need to do is file, save as, save this file as a SGV. I'm going to save that into our session 5 folder. I'm going to just put car in here, car from Illustrator. And we're pretty much down to the first half of the session, but we're doing really well now, guys. We've got the artwork pretty much done, and I'm going to show you how to put these in the different formats for the birthday, different birthday materials that we're going to hopefully get. We're not going to print them out, but in the formats that you would need if you were going to print them out yourself. Okay, so I've created me file, me SVG file from Illustrator. Now hopefully I can open that up in Inkscape. So if I go file, open, go to session 5, car from Illustrator, open that. It's going to open up the file, and there's a car there. Perfect, exactly what we needed. So I'm going to take that. Now it'll be interesting to see. I'm not going to explore this today, but if you guys are interested, it would be quite interesting to see how we can manipulate that mesh in Inkscape, because that mesh was created in Illustrator. But that's something for another day because I can't do that today, but be interested to see if you could do that. It's brought it in, but it's grouped, so we need to ungroup some of these elements. Okay, I'm going to get rid of the bits that are going to affect me selection. I'm going to make sure I've got my black arrow tool selected. Just select the car. It's selecting this as well, which I don't want. Maybe if I select the wheels. Okay, right click, copy, bring that into here. There we go. Hopefully the car has come in nicely, which it has. Now what you need to do, guys, as you can see, I'm stretching this car, but you can see the ratio of its width and its length is not fixed. But if you want it to be fixed, which I do, so I know that the wheels are going to be exact circles. hold down Control, and that'll just scale the image up the way you want. There we go. And there's the car. And what I might do, because we didn't have time to draw the the person driver, the car driver in there. So what I'll do is we'll put the car maybe on the plate. There's a little like toy or something like that. And I think we're pretty much there with our artwork now. Okay guys, so we've got all elements put together into some kind of layout that we're happy with. What we're going to do now, we're going to have a little break for 10 minutes, and then what we're going to do after our break, we're going to take this artwork, we're going to put it onto a birthday card front. I'm going to show you how to set up your file so you can have a birthday card layout. Set up the file, a separate file, so we can have our invitation and the artwork placed on there for our invitation, and then we're going to put that onto a birthday banner as well. Okay, and we're going to do that now in Illustrator and in Inkscape. So all of this first half of the session was just really creating our artwork in Inkscape, and now we're going to use the artwork that we've created in Inkscape. Bear in mind, we've created elements of these different elements in Inkscape and Illustrator, but we've combined it all in Inkscape, and then we're going to take this artwork and we're going to apply it to those different formats, and we're going to go in we're going to stay in Inkscape after the break, and we're going to do those 3 different formats. We're going to create our birthday card, we're going to do our invite, and then our banner. And then once we're happy with that, we're going to do exactly the same thing using the artwork from here. I'm going to take it in Illustrator, and we're going to do the same thing in Illustrator. But Illustrator has got a bit of a cool feature, which I'll show you after the break, which allows you to do those 3 different documents in that one file, where Inkscape doesn't allow you to do that. So we'll have to create different files for those different formats. So what I mean by that is, your birthday card would need to be one file in Inkscape, your invite would need to be another file in Inkscape, and then your birthday banner would have to be a different file in Inkscape. Okay, whereas Illustrator, you could have it all in one. So I'll talk to you a bit more about that in about 10 minutes time. It's looking quite good there. If you've got any questions or anything, please interact with us in our chat. And yeah, I'll see you back in about 10 minutes time, so at 2:10. Okay. Hi guys, welcome back. This is our final session on Crafty Illustrations, and over the course of the past 4 weeks, for those of you who haven't been with us, we've created some really nice vector-based artwork for a single project where we have we're creating some artwork for a birthday, a 70th birthday. And where we're up to now in the project is we're looking at putting all of our elements together to form that one single piece of artwork that we can then use for and apply it to a birthday card, to a banner, and to a birthday invite. And I'm going to show you how you do that now. Okay, those of you who are just tuning in, we have 6 sessions in total, including our taster session, available on YouTube. Go back if you're interested and have a quick look and listen and watch some of the other sessions, and that will fill you in on what we've done and get you up to speed with what vector-based imagery is if you're not too sure. But we're going to crack on now for the next say 15 minutes and finish the artwork here to create our birthday card first of all. So we're going to create our birthday card in Inkscape. Okay, so what we need to do, guys, we need to go to File and New. And I'm going to just quickly check on Google for a minute. Can't remember what size of birthday card I'm going to set the birthday card to, so I'm just going to quickly find the standard size for a birthday card. Is it 5x7? Okay, a folded 5x7, that'll be 5 inches by 7, right? So if you go back to Inkscape, we've created our new document. In fact, I'll close this document, I'll start again. Let's quickly save this artwork first. I would hate to lose that. So go File, New. Okay, yeah, it's created the document and hasn't given us the option to change the size. So to do that in Inkscape, you go File, Document Properties, I believe, and here we have the option of changing the document properties and size and what have you. Okay, so I'm not a mathematician, so I can't do my conversions that quickly. So it was 5x7, I believe. So all I've done here in the size of this document, I'll click change the units to inches and changed the width to 5, the height to 7. This is going to be the front cover of that birthday card. Okay. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that to 10, and I'm going to explain myself a little bit better in a minute. Okay. So the width is going to be 10, the height is going to be 5, and then we're going to see if I can get rid of that. Not too sure how you get rid of that, but we'll have to make do. I can't oh yeah, just click the little arrow up there and that will get rid of that. Okay, so the main birthday card, I'll draw that in inches. So I'll draw it in millimeters because that's all I can see for the time being. Oh, there's inches there. Change that to inches. I'm going to change that to 5 just to explain myself, and there's 7. So that's 5x7, and this shape is 5x7. Okay, and as you can see, all I did was times it by 2 to create 2. So as you can see, we can have both the front and back parts of this card together. I'm just putting these shapes in just to show you what I'm talking about. Let me change this color for a minute. There. So let's say the front of that card, if the card was this was the card closed, okay, and that's what your, if this is the card closed, and that's the front of the card. If I open the card out, that's going to be the front and that's going to be the back. Okay, so the front is going to be yellow and the back is going to be pink, and that's all I've done there. That just saves us creating 4 different files. It saves us creating a file in Inkscape for the front, and then a file for the inside of the card, and then another file for the other inside of the card, and another file for the back side of the card. We're just going to create two documents that will have both the outside faces of the card, the front that you would see if it was sitting on a shelf in a shop, and then the back side. And then we're going to create a separate document which is going to show you the inside of the document, okay, and that will make it easier. And then what would happen is you would print those out. You would print that card out, print it out once, turn the page around, put it back in the printer, press print again, and it'll print both front and the back. Or if you have a fancy printer, it would print the front and back at the same time. Okay, hopefully I've explained myself a little bit better. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to try and create a guide, and I wasn't too sure how to do that, but it's exactly the same as you would do in Illustrator. So if I right click on can't do that. Okay, let me see if I can unlock that. Oh. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a box again, change the width to 5. Now, as you can see, this here is what we call a ruler. That's the top ruler and that's the bottom ruler. And it's done it in, the ruler is in measurement in units of millimeters, okay? And I'm not sure what the millimeter conversion is for 5 inches. What I want to do is I want to create a guideline halfway through that page so we can see the front and then we can see the back. So a trick that I've done there is I've created a shape that is 5 inches wide, and I clicked on my square, drew my shape out, and then made sure the width, the W, was 5. Okay, just positioned it in one half of the document, and now I'm going to drag a guideline from this vertical ruler, and you're going to click on it and hold down and drag it all the way along, and it should usually snap, but it doesn't really matter for this purpose. You can just drag it, zoom in a little bit, and position it halfway across, okay? And then we can delete that because we don't need it anymore. So that's our guide to tell us where the fold line is on that card. Now if we click on our Inkscape button again, we've got quite a few documents open. So to avoid confusion, I'm going to get rid of the car one. We don't need the car one anymore. I'll just save it anyway. I'll get rid of this one because we don't need that. I'll save it again just in case. I'll keep that one open because I want to show you how to create some patterns as well. And I'll close that one and I'll save that. So I've only got a couple of documents open. There's the artwork that we're going to use. So we're going to click on our black arrow, select the entire thing. What we're probably best off doing is right clicking on it and clicking group to group that into one group. We're going to then right click on our shape, press copy or Control and C on our keyboard, click on our Inkscape and click in here. Okay, I've just noticed this has got a funny name, so I'm going to change the name to session 5. In session 5 I'm going to call this birthday card front. Okay, birthday card front. Okay, save. And then I'm going to go edit, paste. That will bring in the artwork. And then I'm going to reduce the shape, the object down. Remember, holding down Control to keep it all fixed, so we're not stretching our image. I'm going to have that in the middle of the card, and then we're going to introduce a bit of text here. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click and I'm going to make this balloon a little bit bigger, just to balance out that shape a bit, the entire shape. I might get rid of this one. There's a few little tweaks here. Put that one in the middle. That looks a little bit better, I think. And then I'll group that again, just in case I want to move that entire thing. Okay. Now, what we want to put on here, we might want to put happy birthday on there. So we'll click on our text tool, click and drag, and then we're going to write happy day. And then I might put, if you double click on this and click on our text button here, sorry, our text button here, so it'll allow us to choose what fonts we have on our installed on our computer. And we did cover how to download some fonts last week. What was it, last week or the week before? So I'm not going to do that again, but it's very easy, and there is a resource, a really good resource called DaFont, DaFont, where you can download your fonts. Okay, and there's some really good YouTube tutorials on how to do it. Very, very simple. Find the font that you want and download it, and then just right click on the downloaded file and install that font, and then that will appear in your list of fonts. Sometimes it doesn't, and you might need to restart the program again, but just make sure you remember the name of the font that you've installed, and you'll be able to find it in the list. So all I've done there, guys, is I found the font that I think looks quite nice, and this one was called, I can't remember what it's called now, Cookies, I think it was. Clicked on it, clicked apply, and that's changed it. And then I wonder if I'm just changing the height of it there, the height of the text, the font size, and there's a font size I can change myself there as well. So there's 40. You need to click apply each time you make a change, and I think that color would look quite nice, the same color as this pink. So I'm going to hopefully use my eyedropper tool or my color picker tool, change that. There we go, there's our happy birthday. And then to make sure I've got the same style font and the same size, I'm just going to press Ctrl and D, hopefully, to create a copy. Hopefully I should just be able to change that, and then we might be our Gran. Okay, so happy birthday Gran, and then we'll have that font size probably a bit bigger now because it's quite a small word. Let's put it at 60, apply, maybe 120, twice the size, apply. Okay, and it's got too big for that box, so what we need to do is hopefully maybe undo that, maybe just stretch it. Okay, stretch it to the size that you want. Maybe that's too big. Okay, what I want to do now, I'm going to quickly show you something which is quite useful. I'm going to change that color to this blue. Oh, definitely not that blue. Maybe that green. Okay. I want to align all these together. So we've got one element there. We've got that element, and then we've got this element. And I want to align it to the middle. So we click on all three. 1, 2, 3. And then we have an alignment tool somewhere. I think it might be this. No, it's group selected objects. There is a shortcut to it there, but I think we have it up in the objects as well. Align and distribute. So if you go to objects and align and distribute, it will bring up the align and distribute options here, and then you've got your center there. So center on vertical axis, click on that. Oh, sorry, that's the center of the document. That's wrong. We want to center the elements. So click on all the elements. Oh, relative to page, right? We want relative to the selection area, and then we're going to align them, and they should all be in the middle now. Remember, that's the front of the page, and this is going to be the back. So what we could do to add something to the back, we might want to double click on, say, the balloon. Keep on clicking into those groups until you've got the element that you want, and then let's make some duplicates. Control and D to duplicate, and then let's maybe make these a little bit smaller. You might want to take maybe the cake. The cake is quite a nice shape. Select the cake, Control and D, move the cake over to there, put that back on the cake. Maybe just have the cake in there, get rid of that balloon. It's a nice little, group that again. So what happens is, with Inkscape, if you double click on something, it automatically ungroups that selection, so you have to then make sure you ungroup them. You make sure you group them, regroup them. Okay, so we're going to keep that in there, and we want that centered to here. Now, how would we do that? A little kind of, the Americans like to call it hack, because we've kind of created two pages here. We can't center it to the center of that page, but what we do know is half of that page is 5 inches. So if we put that there, we create another guideline halfway between that. Maybe change that 2 inches and change. No, I don't think that's going to work. But anyway, we've created another shape which is exactly 5 inches. We've created a guideline in the middle of that shape. Delete that shape. And now we can see that point there and that point there is actually the middle. So then we can just, actually what it's doing is it's snapping to that guideline now. So that's where we want it. Okay, and just position it there. So now we have our front page of our birthday card and the back page. Okay, I might move that up a little bit, and then obviously you can do some more things to it if you wanted to. I did notice there was some cool filters, and I'm just gonna have a quick look. I'm not gonna I've never played with these filters before in my life, but let's have a quick look just while we're here. There's different bevels which create like a 3D effect. The jelly effect there, I don't really like the look of that. Edit undo is always good. What else do we have? Matte bevel, what's that? No, it looks awful. Stained glass, see what that does. Oh, that looks alright. Looks quite nice. There doesn't seem to be any elements of control there, so you're always better to undo that. Always good to remember, make a duplicate, keep that out of the way, you've got a copy then, haven't you? And then you can go back to your bevels. That stained glass look quite nice, so I'm going to go with that. So there's some options for you to explore as well. So what we're going to do now is going to go to layers, going to create a new layer, and I'm going to call this layer 2 working elements. These are your backups, okay? I'm going to put that up there. I'm going to double click on that, double click on that. I'm going to press, I want to select this, but I just keep on select. The problem, what we had there was we had an issue with that belonging to the overall document. So if you just double click until only the wording is selected, right click on it and click cut, and we're going to put it into our working elements. So click on the working elements layer that we just created, right click, paste. Now if we hide that, you can put all your working bits and pieces into that one layer, and then you can hide it. It's just as a backup, we're going to keep that there. And then you can have some more text at the bottom here, you know, sometimes on birthday cards you might have, I don't know, what's going on. Oh yeah, sorry, it's not allowing me to click on anything because I'm still selecting the working elements layer. So click back onto layer 1, draw your box, and then you could maybe write a little note to your grandmother, or made with love, love from, I don't know, Leon maybe, because I'm the one who's made it, blah blah blah. Now what you need to do here is make sure your text is selected. Obviously the whole sentence does not fit into that box, so what we need to do is we need to somehow resize that box. And if you click on that little node with your text selected, you can spell your name right for a start, and then you can stretch it so all the text is visible. What I'm going to do now is change the font size to something small, because this text on the card is usually quite small. Maybe not as small as that, maybe that. I'm going to make that box, I'm going to position that. This is also something I'm not familiar with doing with text in here. That's font. Paragraph text. Let's have a look, see what else. Text and font, that's what we got there. There should be an option for like a paragraph option. Can't seem to find where you can have it aligned to the left, aligned to the right, and so on and so forth. There's your text. Can't find that, and I'm not too sure how to do that, so we're just going to leave that for the time being. Maybe normal. That's the position. Here it is, sorry. So all you do, select the box there, make sure you're on your text tool, and at the top here there's your alignment, and I would like mine in the middle. Probably what I haven't done is I need to select the text first, position that in the middle. There we go. Knew it was quite easy, but sometimes it's not straightforward. There you go, and you can add some more bits and pieces. So that's now your birthday card front and back sorted. We'll save that, and now what we're going to do is we're going to go File, and we're going to export this as a JPEG or PNG. Save as, should be save this as a PDF. This is the best, one of the best formats to save your document, and I'll change the name of that because it's going to be the front and back, because this is a standard format that most non-graphical computers can open. There's always a program, 9 times out of 10 there's always a program that will open a PDF. So whereas if you save it as a specialist kind of Illustrator file or specialist Inkscape file, something like that, unless you're opening it and you know you're going to open it in Inkscape, you're better, once you've done your final artwork, you're better off saving it as something that is a generic file format, so a PDF, a JPEG, a PNG, something like that, okay, that most other programs can open. I'm going to go with PDF because that's one of the standard ones, and that's the one that I'm quite familiar with, and I've saved that. Okay, I'm just going to save as again just to double check. There it is there. So if you go to our file, let's go to the desktop, go to my graphics, the teaching folder, go to Crafty Illustrations, session 5. There is a PDF there, and it's an Adobe Acrobat document. Okay, that's what PDF is. If we double click on that, there's our, it's going to open it in Adobe Acrobat Reader if you have that, or it might open it in Microsoft Edge or something like that. It should be open it, and there's your document. And as you can see, the front and the back's been saved out. You can't edit any of these images, so this is your final artwork, and the guideline hasn't been exported either. Okay, and I'm just going to quickly show you something, because I've realized that this isn't an A4 document. So what we might want to do, go back to our birthday card, we might want to draw the shape, excuse me, change that fill to change the stroke, change the stroke to black, change the fill to no fill, and what I'm doing here is I'm creating an outline around the document. I'm going to give you 2 scenarios where usually there's snapping options as well in these graphical programs. I'm not too sure where it is, and I'm a bit conscious of time, so I'm not going to be hunting around, but it should be up here somewhere, maybe up here or somewhere in your these are the options here, actually, some options, some snapping options here. Select a couple of them, hopefully that does something. But you've got some snapping options here that we need to that might help you out in there. Can you see it snapping now? Okay, so what I've done here is I've drew a box around. I'm going to try and get rid of these guides if I can by clicking on them, pressing delete, or view hide guides by, if you go to view and uncheck your guides, make sure this is 10 inches by 7. Make sure the alignment of it, that overall rectangle, is in the center of the page now. So we need it in the center on the horizontal, on the vertical, and center on the horizontal. So that's the perfect size and the perfect position for that entire page. I'm just going to change it to yellow just so you can see that is the shape. And we're going to export that one more time in a minute. We're also going to draw a quick line here as well. Use our Bezier tool. I'm going to draw from there. Click once, move our pen, click again, and it's picked up where the midpoint is. and I'm just going to hopefully press enter, and that'll do that. And I'll change the stroke. If we double click on the stroke here, oh, excuse me, let's see what's happened here. Change the stroke here to something really fine, so maybe 0.1 millimeter. I'm going to file and save that again. Make sure this is closed. Actually, I'll save it as a number 2 document. And what I'm trying to show you here is I'm creating little guides for where we might want to crop our image. And when I say crop it, once you've printed it out, we might want to trim it down, and we might want to have a guide to where to fold. So if you go to our file, save as, sorry, I've saved it as the wrong document. Save as PDF. Click on that. Click on that. Save. Click OK. Right. If we go back to our document, there's the document we just saved out, and there you can see you've got your bounding lines there, and there's your your folding point. Now, if you set your document up as an A4 document that you just then folded, you wouldn't need to put your guidelines in there, because it would just be an A4 document, and then all you do is fold it in half. Happy days. But if you wanted a specific size, this is one way of doing that. Putting some guidelines in there for you. Okay. So that's how you create your front and back. You would use exactly the same document and put save as. We're going to call it inside. Save that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create and maybe another layer or working elements. We'll put our we'll create another layer. We'll call this guides. And there probably is a better way to be doing what I'm doing here. There probably is. There's always more than one way to skin a cat, as they say. But this way worked for me. So if you've got a better way, feel free to suggest, put something in our comments. Okay. So I've created a guides layer. I'm going to hide that because we don't need that anymore. We'll keep that open, but that's just gives you a level of control. What I will do though is I'll lock it, and that's the reason why I put it into a different layer. That means I can select the entire page. I can delete or move these elements now, and then we're going to start looking at creating our inside cover text and things like that. Okay, so I've just moved it to one side because I'm not too sure what I'm going to use, but what I think I will use is I think I'm going to use a balloon. Okay, I'm double clicking in there until I find the balloon that I want. Control C to copy, Control V to paste in. I'm going to get rid of the string for now, because what I want to quickly show you, I have promised you this before, how to create a pattern. Okay, so we're going to look at creating a pattern now, a very basic pattern, because we're running out of time and we need to go back in. We need to go into Illustrator. So what I'm going to do is maybe change that color to a really pale color, maybe something like that. Okay, and maybe change the color a bit more Now we'll keep it like that for now. What I'm going to do, I quickly learnt this on our break here. I think it was, there was a pattern option, paths, filters. There was a pattern option. Objects. Let's have a quick look. Just bear with me. Here it is. So select the object that you want. So I'm going to select that. Click objects, and then we're going to click on. I've lost it again. It's path. There it is. Click patterns, objects. So we're going to create a pattern from the objects. Objects to pattern. Click on that. Okay. Now you're going to try and watch me frantically trying to find out how to do the next bit. So what we're going to do is going to create a shape over the entire page. We're going to click on our fill, and these are the different fill options along where my mouse is here. So you've got a fill flat color, which we don't want there. You've got a gradient. We know about gradients because we messed about with those quite a bit now. We've got a radial gradient, a different type. We've got a mesh gradient, which we definitely know about, and then we've got pattern. If we click on the pattern, boom, there we go. So what we've done there, guys, is we've and obviously that's just one repeated shape, and you can mess about with this more and more. But what we've done is we've got our shape there. I'm going to undo that again. Remember, always make your duplicates, okay? I'm going to undo, do. So we've converted that already to a pattern. So what we should have done when we didn't is before we convert that to a pattern, we need to create a duplicate. Okay, so I'm going to press Ctrl and D, move that to one side. Okay, and we're going to ungroup that, and then I'm going to create a pattern from there. Object, pattern, objects, a pattern. This here is going to be undo. That object there, there's two objects here, as you can see. If we zoom right in, there's two objects to create that balloon. Create a group, Control and D, create our duplicate, get rid of this, don't need that. I'm going to put this in our layers, working layers folder. So I'm going to Control and X to cut that, Control and V to put that in our working layers. There it is in our working layers. Go back to here, hide our working layers because we don't need it. Right click on, ungroup that. Keep on clicking on the image until we've got exactly what we want. I'm going to take that out of the group. So press Ctrl and X to cut it, Ctrl and V to paste it. All I'm doing, guys, is I've went back a little bit. What we did, it worked, and it worked perfectly, which is great. But what I wanted to try and do is I wanted to create a duplicate. So if we wanted to amend that shape of the balloon, we have that duplicate there. What we did when we initially created the pattern, we just converted that whole shape to a pattern, but we didn't have any backup. So I've just gone back a little bit so we have a backup. Okay, so I'm going to convert that object to a pattern. That is now a pattern. If we go to our fill here, that's the pattern 883401. Don't know how to change the name of that, but we'll just leave that for now. It works. Okay, we're going to create a box around our entire document. We're going to click on pattern, and there's our lovely balloon pattern on the inside cover. Okay, What we're now going to do is going to create another box. I'm going to position it like that, position it like that, and running out of time a little bit. So what I will do is just going to create two little kind of white kind of windows so we can put some text. So let's see if we can change our opacity of this. So I would like this to be a white color. So if we go all the way to the left, there's our white. And then what I would like this to be, this is the opacity here on our flat color. If we reduce the opacity, the transparency to about 50, maybe a little bit more, drop it down to 85, you can see the balloon texture in the background. Okay, oh, and then I'm going to duplicate that, move that over to the other side. Can you see that's the two inside faces now? I'm going to align these, object, align and distribute. Right, this is where I get the faster music going, because I've realised we need to do some other bits and pieces. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to add some text. Don't worry guys, we're definitely going to have to run over into today's session, but happy birthday Gran, 2 Gran or whatever. Blah blah. Okay, put your text in there, whack it in there, and we know how to amend our text now, don't we? So you just want to drop the size a little bit so it fits. You have to double click on the text first, drop your size down a bit, apply, and then you know how to do that now. And then what we would do is go File, Save As, and then you would call this inside cover, but remember we're going to save it as a PDF. Click OK. If we go to our document, our folder now, we've got the front and back, which is open there. We've got our, and then if we go to our other file, which is the inside cover, there's the inside cover there, and the color hasn't come out the way it should have, but that's an issue for another day. But as you can see, those guides have come across quite nicely, and that would print out quite well. So that's the birthday card. Now as you can see, we've got a lot of elements here that we can reuse for our invitation. So what I'm going to do, just to be a bit crafty, save a bit of time, I'm going to save this again, save as. I'm going to call this invitation, birthday invite. Already got our elements here. We'll move that to one side. What I'm going to try and do is change the document size now to half of the width. Okay, so it is this. If that page, that's how. Let's say this is our card. And that's open. We want our invite to be half of that. Okay, so the actual width of a closed card, which is 5 inches. If you press OK, it doesn't look as though anything's changed, but if I move all this out of the way, there's our document there now. Okay, so what I need to do is I'll get rid of this box, we don't need it. I'll resize that to there. As you can see, the pattern's changed because I've squashed it right down. So that's something we need to really address. And to do that, the first place I would be looking, I'm not looking at changing this now, really. But first, I'm going to have one quick look. The first place I would look to be going is we go into our pattern and change the pattern. There we go. So all I've done is reset the pattern fill. So these are all preset patterns here. You've got stripes and all kinds of different things in here, and there's our pattern at the top, and I've just changed it to reset that pattern. So this is where our layers come in quite nicely. If you go to working document, there's our happy birthday. Click on this. We can change this now, because if you look on it, can you change this? Oh, brilliant, you can change that as well. Right, never mind. But it's always handy to have your backup there. Okay, we'll pull that out of the way. I'm going to make a duplicate of this. Copy, paste. Double click on this text. I'll just say birthday, say invite. And this is how we keep our consistency and our design style the same across our different documents. Okay. Double click on that a bit, maybe make that a little bit smaller. Go back to our text, drop our text size down to say 32, apply that, perfect, put that in the center. All this, guys, you know what I'm doing now, because we've done it a few times now. And then you might want to maybe just put some lines in there, so you can have okay, sorry guys, there's a little glitch, but we're back, I think. I'm just gonna move my birthday cakes, ungroup that, hopefully. Copy. Sorry about that, guys. Another little glitch, but we're back on. Okay, so we save that invite, and there we go. Now I believe, looking at the colours there looks as though there's an issue with the export, but again, that's an issue for another day. And as you can see by now, I'm a bit lazy when it comes to reading what the some of the settings are when you export, so it might be worthwhile looking at that. But as you can see, you've got your invite now, you've got your card. I'm not going to do the banner, because the banner is exactly the same process. Okay, all you would do is you would take this, go file, save as, save it as a banner, and then once you've saved it as a banner, you'll go to your document properties and change the size of that document. So let's say the banner might be 2 meters wide by 30 centimeters high, and then you would apply and readjust your elements to suit that banner. Okay, now we're running out of time. We should be finishing now, but I'm going to give us another 10 minutes, because all this up until now has been done in Inkscape. Okay, that's how you would apply your artwork to your different formats in Inkscape. Okay, and as you can see in the document properties, we already have some preset documents here. Okay, and you could choose what. Look, you've got business cards there, you've got video sizes, you've got loads of different options already preset into there. Okay, so that's worthwhile looking at. Also, in your document properties, you've got your snaps and things like that, which I was looking at before. So all you would do to your banner would just change the banner exactly the same way you've changed the invite, and then just readjust things. Okay, so that's Inkscape. I'm going to save that. I'm going to leave that open, because I'll probably need to adjust some of the graphics. Now what we're going to do now, very quickly, In fact, I'm going to save. Actually, what we did do, didn't we, is we made this a little bit bigger. Now I'm not going to create this artwork in Illustrator because we already have it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just export this or save it as a PNG file. So I'm going to File, Save As, save it in session 5, and we should have PNG available in here. If not, we should be able to find it as an export. Okay, so that's a they have two different options when it comes to digital imagery. Okay, you've got File, Save As, which saves it as kind of files that are native to this program, or files that you can open up and amend in this program. But you can also save, but they call it export in programs. But export just means the same thing, you're saving it, but it allows you to export it under different file formats. And as you can see there, export PNG image, and that's what we want to do. Check the dimensions and everything, looks all right. But what we probably want to do is we want that to be 300 dpi. Dpi is dots per inch, and we want the higher the dpi, the better quality the image is going to be. Okay. We are not going to do that because if we save it to DPI, PNG, it won't be a vector-based image. So we won't do that. We'll go to File. We'll save as. We'll just keep it as a final birthday artwork and just save it. We should be able to open this up in Illustrator, no problem actually. And that's, I nearly fell down a little trapdoor, the little graphic design trapdoor, if you like, of exporting something. But the whole purpose of us doing this document, doing this artwork in a vector-based image creation program, is that we can have the flexibility to scale up our image, our elements. And we could do that quite nicely at this resolution, the 300 dpi, but to remain honest to what we've been learning for over the course of the five weeks, and to keep that idea that if we did want to blow that banner up to the size of a building, for example, it's best to keep it as a vector. So we've saved that as the SVG file. We go to Illustrator. I'm going to create a new document here, and I'm going to call this birthday file printed documents, and now I'm going to put the first document there as 5 inches, wasn't it, by 7. Change that to millimeters. 5 inches by 7. Click OK. Okay, and there's our sheet, a bit like an Inkscape. Okay, if we go File, we're going to place that document that we've just created in Inkscape. So what's that file called again? Final birthday artwork. And that is, I'm just checking where this is saved. Crafty Illustrations. We'll put that in there. We'll do final birthday artwork. I'm going to place that in here. Hopefully, oh, there's an error. Okay. Oh, no problem. There was an error, but it's still brought it in. Okay, that's fine. Let's rescale that down. Right, so the error, I think the error was something to do with the balloons. Okay. So just before, just want to check something quickly. Let's try saving it as a PDF and see what happens. We don't want to rasterize filter effect. I'll keep that there actually. I want to try and keep this as a vector based image, but also try and keep the balloon shapes. Let's try the plain SVG and see what that does. I'll just put a 2 on the end of that so I know that's a file. Click save. I'm going to try and open it instead of placing it. Artwork 2, open. Yeah. So we've got the same issue with the balloons. Okay. One last try with these balloons. I'm going to have to do a shortcut here, guys, because I can't figure out why. I can't figure out why those balloons aren't coming through. Okay, so I'm gonna do a shortcut and I have to go and contradict myself here, which I don't like doing, but we're going to have to rasterize this image. I'm going to do it at 300 dpi because that's quite a high resolution. I'm going to save that out. Okay, I'm going to get rid of that, and hopefully now we should be able to open that and the balloons should come through. Don't know where it's gone. Hasn't opened up. File. Okay, so without wasting any more of your time, let's try it a different way. I just want to try and get this image in now. That's my goal, to get this image in. So I can show you the different ways Illustrator allows you to deal with multiple size documents in one file. Okay, and that's what I'm trying to do at the minute. So let's go to final. We're just going to type in final artwork and call this 3. I appreciate this won't export it as a vector, but it's going to hopefully export the artwork in a format that is going to be suitable for me to demonstrate what I need to show you. Okay, so it's just exporting now. I've just clicked File, Export as a PNG, and I've made sure my dots per inch is 300. Go to cancel that. Go back to my printed documents, File, hopefully, fingers crossed. That's it there. Just bringing it across. There we are. Right, okay, happy days. I knew that would work right from the very beginning, but I didn't want to do it this way because it brings it in yeah, you can see there it's brought it in as a bitmap. You can see the little squares that's forming that image, but it's at a decent size and decent resolution. And if as a workaround, if you're right on the right at the end of your deadline there, you can always export your drawing. There's your width, your height in millimeters. You can use this as your master document. You can adjust this to say 3 meters wide by 2 meters high at 300 dpi, although that would probably be a bit too much, but you could, and press export, and it would just keep on generating your documents, your artwork from this one file, and that would maintain that level of control and quality over your final artwork. And you would just do all your changes to your artwork in this document, and then place it. I'm not sure why you'd want to place it in a different document, but you could. It is possible to do that. Like I say, there's always more than one way to skin a cat. Okay, so this is our front cover. I'm just going to put happy birthday here. Select all that, put that in the middle. I'm just putting this really quickly now. I want to demonstrate a couple of things before we finish for the day. I'm going to leave it in black. Right, okay, so what we have in Illustrator, let me get rid of some of these annoying windows that sometimes baffle us because we don't know what they do. Illustrator have a way that you can have different boards set up. Okay, so a board is what I'm referring to as this white page here, and these are called artboards in Illustrator, and this is how you control them. If you click on this button here, you can create more than one artboard in Illustrator, which I find is quite fantastic. So there's the create new artboard button there, or you can just draw your own a new artboard. So for example, that's our first page, but we might want to do what we did in Inkscape, where we wanted 2 pages, one for the inside and out and one for the outer cover and the back cover. We're going to keep it in inches, but we're going to have it 10 inches by 7 inches. Oh, sorry, that's a position. My bad. 10 inches by 7 inches. And that control is done here. Press enter. You can always readjust your artboards. If you want to reposition your artboard, you've got to make sure it's selected, and then you can select it. Just be careful there, because that text is now assigned to that artboard, and it shouldn't. It should be assigned to this one. So there's artboard 1. And the text is gone somewhere. Anyway. Oh, I've put the text in there. You can rename your artboards, and I've renamed my first artboard Gran. Okay. Okay, so that's how you would create your outside cover. So this is just one option of the folded front cover, or this is one option like we've done in Inkscape, where you have the back cover and the front cover all. I might be pushing it here, but I'm going to see if I can just copy this over. Okay, and then you might have this as your back cover. I'm just really speeding things up now. That could be where we have our cake in then Inkscape. And then what you can do is you can duplicate your artboards as well. So you click on your artboards button, you can hold down Alt to copy like you would normally, and that copies all the elements as well. So that might be your front page, that's your back page, and then this here could be your inside cover. And one last thing I want to show you before we finish for today. I appreciate you bearing with me and staying with me, even though we've gone over a little bit. I'm going to copy that balloon. Hopefully I can bring that over to Illustrator. And if I can't, we'll just have to create one quickly. Okay, so we were looking at creating pattern. We made a pattern in Inkscape, didn't we? I'm going to quickly redo this balloon because it's quite easy in Illustrator. There's our balloon. I'll just copy that, resize it a little bit to make it look like a nib of a balloon. Let's go to our swatches to get some color, add that to a color, and then go to our pathfinder, which we've used before, and I'm going to combine those two images. Okay, so what I'm going to do now that we've got our swatches open, these are the different colors. What you can do is you can drag that shape, and this is creating a pattern is as simple as dragging that over and dropping it in there. So what that allows us to do is, if we draw our rectangular shape over the entire inside sleeve like we did in Inkscape, you can just click on that new pattern swatch and it creates a pattern within that shape. If you double click on that, you have controls over what size you want that pattern to be. So let's say we want it half of that, which is an inch, 0.4 of an inch. You might want spacing in there as well. You know, there's lots of different controls here. I'm not completely au fait with it, but this is how you would control it anyway. Move tile with art, take that out. I don't know what that does. This is just your grid. So as you can see, this is far too big at the minute. Okay, let's say 0.4. That's the spacing. Okay. Okay, I think what we need, that's what you need to do actually. Trying to think very complicated, and all you need to do is reduce the size of the actual shape. Okay, that's all you need to do. The width of it, entire width, let's say is 0.8. There you go, maybe a little bit less, 0.6 there, and that's your pattern. There you go. And then what we did in Inkscape, remember, we drew our little boxes, put that as a white. In Illustrator you have the appearance button, I think, here, where you can change its opacity to something like 80%. Oh, that's a stroke, sorry, my bad. Fill 80%, and again you would just duplicate it, blah blah blah, and then once you've done that, you would save it as a PDF. But you've got to be careful when you in Illustrator, you need to go File, Save As, and it allows you to choose your file type, so you want your PDF, but then you can choose the range of artboards. Okay, so for example, you might only want, remember we've got this one, 2, artboard 1, artboard 2, artboard 3, so we just want 2 and 3 to be exported. And it gives you that level of control as to what artboards you are exporting and what you're ignoring. Okay, you can preserve your Illustrator capabilities, but if you want to reduce your file size, you can uncheck that, click Save, gives you something else to read. I can't be bothered to read at the minute, and it's going to save it out for you. And then I've been a bit too quick here, not too sure where that's saving to, but the beauty of that is, as you can see, once this is saved out, the beauty of that means that your PDF is now a multi-page PDF, so you've got your front and your back in that one file, okay, as opposed to the Inkscape where you I'm just going to save that out again. So it's birthday documents, okay, printed document. So as opposed to Inkscape in your birthday card, for example, where you have the front and back as one file, and then the inside covers is another file, okay. Illustrator is a little bit more streamlined. So if you go to birthday documents, I'm just going to show you that as an example. There's your front and back page. Sorry, that's your inside cover, and that's your front and back, okay. So that's it, guys. Appreciate you hanging on there with me. It's been a long session, but we've had to cram in quite a bit to try and get to where we needed to be. Unfortunately we didn't get the banner done, but I didn't really want to go and do the banner. Didn't want to finish the banner with you because I would just be repeating exactly what I've been repeating over the last hour or so. The process is exactly the same. You just need to make sure you set up your file to the same side, to the right size that you want your banner. So in Illustrator you have that facility, remember, to just create your new artboard, so you can draw your artboard. There's your banner there. We've got it in inches now. Don't want it in inches, so I'll change my preferences to units to millimeters. Okay, so you might want that to be 2 meters wide by 30 centimeters, 300. Okay, so there's your banner there, and you can reposition that. Just be careful where you draw your banner, because it picks up the elements and grabs those elements to those and to that banner. Okay, and then you can copy and paste those elements to the banner by clicking on it, pasting them in. And you will just, create your banner the way I've just been describing there. Okay, so that's where we're at really, and that's what we've done. We've covered quite a lot. Found a few little glitches, a few little areas that you just need to figure it out. And to be fair, in my time as a designer in different guises, sometimes you get right up to the wire and you're not doing things the right way, but sometimes it just needs to be done, and sometimes you just have to figure it out and get it done because you're limited by time. But and that's my excuse for exporting as PNG, but we still do have that level of control, and that control of the quality exported from Inkscape. So we're going to wrap up messing around in the programs now. I'm going to flick to my presentation just to kind of take a breath for a minute, because we've covered quite a lot over the last 5 weeks, and especially over this session today. So let's have a quick review, shall we? We had a look at what we did last week. We looked at using the meshing tool, which we've been exploring over the past couple of weeks. We've used the Bezier tool last week, and we just had a quick look at that, and we looked at that again today. We looked at how to apply colour last week in Illustrator's method called Live Trace and Live Paint. And then we spent the majority of our session today creating things and compiling our artwork in Inkscape. And these are the notes to create the balloons, okay, and how to change the colour. Just quickly change that typo. Obviously, you've got the luxury of going back if you want to hear my monotonous voice. You can go back and pause me and rewind and whatever. If you're trying to follow me later on, you've got some tips here on how to little videos, tutorials on the main features that we've covered over the last over this session and last session. Now, there's one thing I want to point out with the pattern making in Inkscape. There's a really cool way of doing it in Inkscape, and they have their own seamless pattern making facility in Inkscape. See, it's Inkscape seamless pattern, and there was this is it. I'm not going to play it now for you. I'm just going to copy this link and I'm going to put it into here. I'm going to write seamless pattern. And the reason why I didn't show you this today was because when I practiced it last time, my computer kept on crashing, and I'm not sure why that was, but it looked Inkscape does have a facility where you can create your own pattern as well, quite easily, and that's for more complicated patterns, not for the demonstration that I've done for you guys today. Okay, so that's in there as well, but I didn't want to show you that because it didn't work when I was doing it. Okay, so I did promise you some tips, and these are the tips that I would like to point out to you for moving forward if you're going to use Illustrator or Inkscape or vector-based program. Okay, don't get hung up on your file size. Okay, you're creating the artwork as a vector, so that can be scaled up. Obviously, if you know what your document size is, you're always better to start with your document size, but don't get too hung up. It's not like creating stuff in Photoshop, okay, where you're creating something the size of a postage stamp, and then if your boss comes back and says, actually, we need it A4 or A3, and you come to scale it up and it's no good, you don't have that problem. But just make sure that your ratios are roughly the same size. And what I mean by ratios is that if you're doing something like to a portrait orientation, roughly make sure that your page is to a portrait orientation or a landscape or whatever that shape may be. And that'll just help you with your layout of your artwork. Okay, so not a big deal with your artwork. Get to know your layers. Layers is quite useful. I wouldn't say it's important, because you can get away with not using your layers, but if you get to know your layers when you're learning these programs, and there's some really cool tutorials out there. Just go to Facebook or go to YouTube and things like places like that. You'll get to see some specific layers tutorials for Inkscape and Illustrator, but it helps you organize your file so that you can lock files, as you saw me demonstrate earlier today in Inkscape. Allows you to hide files, organize things so you can see some things and not see others. So layers is quite good. I would invest a bit of time in looking into that. Bringing in your artwork is very simple in both programs, Inkscape and Illustrator. You just go File, Import, okay, and then find the file format, the file that you want to bring in, and that file could be a hand sketch. And this is the reason why we created Crafty Illustrations in the first place, is to bring in your hand sketches, or it might even be, you might have sewn something, you might have knitted something, you might have done a screen print on a t-shirt and you've took a photograph of it. Anything that you've created that you can take an image, take a photo from, or scan it into your computer, you can bring it into these vector-based programs and then push that design onto a little bit further, if you like, or tweak that design, and just help you generate new ideas. So bringing in your artwork is quite important, and it allows you to kind of do something that you're interested in as well. because you're basing it on your own artwork. It's always good to make duplicates, and as you see me time and time again throughout my sessions, I always create duplicates because you can always go back and amend those at key points as well. You can amend them. Don't just keep on working on that one object that you then might make a mistake with, and then you've got no backup. All right, just keep your backups, and then if you get to know your layers, you can whack all your backups into a layer and hide your layer, and then it's not getting in the way. And YouTube and Google are your best friends when it comes to learning these programs. Absolute best friends. As you've seen throughout the 5 or 6 weeks that I've been delivering this session, I don't know it all. And a quick Google search, a quick YouTube video, it really does pay to understand how you learn. And for me, watching somebody do something is probably the best and quickest way I can learn. So I always use YouTube as my go-to resource when I'm trying to learn something, and there's lots and lots of things online there for you to find new ways and tools and techniques to improve your skills within vector-based imagery and any other kind of skills as well outside of the digital realm. So that's the 5 tips. We've got 5 tools. These are the tools that I think are really important when it comes to learning these programs. Right, there's 2 tools in each program that allow you to select. You've got a selection tool, which is the black arrow in Illustrator. That's your selection tool, and this is your direct selection tool, the white one. Direct selection tool allows you to just quickly, as a direct selection tool, amend the points, whereas the selection tool lets you select the entire thing. In Inkscape, you have a very similar thing. You've got the black arrow that allows you to select the entire thing, and then your nodes. Okay, so there are your 2 tools there. You've got your fill and stroke. I'm not going to go through each one and show you them in the programs because we've covered them time and time again, but these are really good things that you need to get familiar with, because the fill allows you to fill in that shape. Your stroke allows you to adjust the colors and the thicknesses of the lines around that shape. Graphic pen and the Bezier pen, it's the same thing in both programs. A graphic pen in Illustrator is the same thing as a Bezier curves tool in Inkscape. That allows you to draw more complicated shapes. Get to know pathfinders. Pathfinders, I find, is a fantastic pathfinder. It's called an Illustrator, but it's a fantastic tool, a fantastic technique. Sorry, not a tool. It's a fantastic technique to create complex shapes out of very basic shapes. Okay, and we've seen that I think in session 3 and 4. I think I showed you how to create I think it was actually early session. I think we created the car out of that basic elliptical shapes and just combined them and added those shapes. And you can access that same technique by drawing your shapes in Inkscape and just combining them via the paths option at the top of your toolbar there. So if I go to Inkscape, there you've got union, difference, and things like that. Okay, I'm not explaining them in depth now. This is just an overview, but what I am giving you is the terms that you can use to then research further. And finally, type is really important, because when we create in graphics, usually we want to add some text to it as well. So type is really useful to get you to know loads of different things, different ways of manipulating the text, different ways of bringing in new fonts, different ways of manipulating those fonts, creating outlines out of them, changing the colors. So many different things that we can do with our type. And the really cool thing I'm looking forward to showing you guys in a couple of weeks time is in our new course is exploring typography, how words or letters to that for that matter, how they are created, and what the different elements to them, to give us a bit more of an appreciation on typography and text in the design world. Okay, so I'm going to try and look for some really cool examples of that. And just to whet your appetite, I know I'm going on a bit, but I don't mean boring fun. I mean, there's some really cool things I would love to be able to show us, demonstrate. I love to be able to show us within our course how to create our own font and our but look at all these cool different fonts here that people have created. Okay, so we're going to look at the different elements to these fonts. Okay, explore how people start out by sketching their ideas for different fonts and things like that, and we'll try and look at the different tools that we can use to develop our own typography as well. Okay, so that's Crafty Types, starting on the 26th, I think it is, the 26th of August. So not next week, but then the week after. Here's some useful resources. Some royalty-free vectors. These are some really good places to go to get some vectors. It's always good to do your own, and always fall back on that, because you don't need to get your own permission to use your own drawings, and be careful with using other people's work, and make sure it's royalty-free, and also always read what the licensing requirements are. So if you're going to create, if you're have a business creating mugs, for example, and you're going to create some artwork on that, and you're going to use some artwork from one of these suggested resources, make sure that you can use it commercially, because you get yourself into trouble. And that's why I've put at the bottom and underlined it. Use your own sketches, your own artwork, because that's why we started Crafty Illustrations in the first place. It's aimed at those people who have that crafty element to them, and that's probably all of us. Those people who like to sketch, who like to do things with their hands. Use your own sketches, but these are some really good handy resources as well. Where to go next? There's some really cool little YouTube videos I came across, so I've put them in there. And then I found some really cool courses that are available at this link. Well, it's a blog that suggests some free courses, online courses for graphic design. Okay, so have a look at that. I haven't read it in depth, but the first couple of paragraphs looked interesting. And then of course there's our course. I've put the 25th, but I think it is the 26th, isn't it? Yes, it's the 26th of August. Now, like always, the files will be made available. This presentation will be made available in our description. But I do know that we've gone way over by 40 minutes, but we had a lot to cram in, guys. So there you go. And that's where we are. Hope you've enjoyed it. There's been a lot of me talking, but hopefully you've got something from it. Crafty Illustrations is part of the Crafty Creative series, and we are always looking to get your feedback on as to how we can push our courses forward. So if you've got some crafty kind of courses that you would like us to explore and deliver sessions on, let us know. We've got plenty of hours to dedicate to that for these National Lottery courses. So let us know, and we'll look into developing courses for you. But Crafty Type will be our next course coming on the 26th. Okay, until then, thanks for bearing with me. Have a lovely weekend. Okay, enjoy the sunshine, and goodbye.